Hello beautiful people and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how to make cut flowers last longer in a vase. So I got these from down the street at a flower shop we have here. So I need to hurry up and get them in some water. So we're gonna unwrap these. Whole lot of paper. Now, depending on how you want the bouquet to sit determines whether or not you cut the rubber band or not. However, since the rubber band is all the way up here, like you can leave it on there, it's fine. The reason why I like to get flower bouquets from smaller businesses is because, or just flower shops in general versus like grocery stores and stuff, is because the flowers tend to be a lot more fresh and they tend to last a little bit longer in general. So step number one would be to make sure that the vase that you're going to have your flowers in is washed. You want to wash it with soap and water. Make sure it's all nice and clean. And then whatever contraption you're going to be using to cut the stems of your flowers, you want to make sure that it is clean as well. So those are kind of like the first steps in order to make sure that your flowers last longer. And there's many different things that you can put in the water to make them last longer, but we'll get into that a little bit later. In my vase, personally, I have 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar and then 2 tablespoons of sugar. That's what I have in this one now, hence the spatula, because I wanted to make sure that it was nice and mixed in there. So the next tip that I would recommend is to, if you look at these flowers, you see that they're cut straight. And you want to make sure that your flowers are cut at an angle. So what cutting them on an angle does is that it increases the surface area that they have to drink water from. And then also when they're cut flat versus when they're cut at an angle, the stems tend to get clogged more quickly. So those are the 2 main reasons why you'd want to cut yours at an angle. Hold please, I'm just trying to cut all of these. And you want to make sure they're relatively even. They don't have to be perfectly even. You just want to make sure, just flung flower in my face. You just want to make sure that they're relatively even and at an angle. Okay. All right, so now they're all at an angle and ready to go. Anyway, when you put foliage in the water, it tends to make the water get dirtier and fill with bacteria more quickly, which therefore shortens the lifespan of your flowers. So just make sure that when you put the stems in the water, there's no foliage that's going in the water as well. So cut flowers need food, and if you use those store-bought packets that come with most flowers, you want to make sure that you are following directions on there. I know a lot of people tend to just like pour the entire packet of food into water, and that's not necessarily the best thing to do, because if it's too diluted or too concentrated of a water mixture, then it can greatly affect the lifespan of your flowers. So you want to make sure that you're adding the correct amount of food to water ratio. So when it comes to mixtures that you can give your flowers for food, you could do a combination like what I did, which is the apple cider vinegar and sugar. And that tends to make the flower bouquets last around 2 weeks. And that's just personally from my experience. I'm sure there might be ways that make them last a little longer, but I like the apple cider vinegar and sugar combination for the flowers. Another thing that you can add to the flowers water is vodka, and it doesn't have to be vodka in particular. It could be any clear spirit, but you can just add a few drops to your water, especially when the flowers are starting to die off and you'll see the flowers start to come back a little bit. Again, a few drops. We're not trying to get our flowers drunk over here, just a few little drops to perk them back up, I guess you could say. Another thing that you can add to the flower is soda. You could do a 1/4 cup of clear soda, preferably. Again, it's just the acidity and the sugar that's going to be in there that's going to help perk those flowers back up and help them last a little longer. Another thing you could do is you can put your flowers in the fridge overnight. So the colder temperatures helps keep the flowers more youthful, I guess you could say. So you could put them in the fridge overnight as a way to extend the preservation of them as well. Another thing that you could add to your flowers is bleach. Now, we're not going crazy. I personally don't have bleach in my household, but you could add a quarter teaspoon, okay? Obviously too much bleach will kill your flowers, but you just want to add a quarter teaspoon of bleach to the water, and what that does, it just helps prevent the growth of bacteria, which obviously makes your flowers last longer. Now, the two biggest tips, in my opinion, that help the lifespan of flowers is to, one, change your water. You can change your water every 2 to 3 days. Some flowers tend to get a little dirtier faster, such as sunflowers. They're very beautiful, but they're very stinky flowers. So those you want to make sure that you're changing every other day. But bouquets like this, you could change every 2 to 3 days. It's also helpful if you have a clear vase, because then you can see how clear or dirty your water is. Mine's is a little tinted because of the apple cider vinegar and the sugar that's in here. However, you can tell when bacteria starts to build up and all of that. So every time you change your water, you want to make sure that you cut your stems again. Make sure you're cutting them at an angle, just so that way they get a fresh chance to taste and take a nice long drink of water. And that really does help them a lot. And every time you do change the water, whatever concoction you decided to use for your flowers, whether it's the apple cider vinegar, the bleach, the vodka, the soda, the flower food, whatever concoction that you decided to use on your flowers, you want to make sure that you re-add that every time you change your water for your arrangement. And the last tip to really help the lifespan of your cut flowers is to keep them away from direct sunlight. There is this false idea that flowers need sunlight when they're cut. That is very true when they are still growing in the ground. Once you cut them, they don't need that sun anymore because they were using the sun to grow, and obviously they're not going to grow anymore in the container. So you don't need to keep your flower arrangements in direct sunlight. That can actually hinder their lifespan. So you want to make sure you're keeping them in a, not dark, but a semi-lit, no direct light, cool place. Cool places are going to be better than heated places. Obviously, heat will completely kill your flowers. But you want to make sure you're keeping them away from direct sunlight and vents. And you also want to make sure that you are keeping them away from fruits on your kitchen counter. So if you do have bouquets of flowers in your kitchen, just make sure they're further away from the fruit that you have out, because when fruits are ripening out on the kitchen counter, they give off something called ethylene gas. And ethylene gas is something that's going to reduce the longevity of your bouquet. So you want to make sure, if you do have them in the kitchen, again, just keep them away from the fruit so that way they're not around that. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I feel like this video was kind of a little everywhere, but I hope it made sense. Please let me know if you have any questions down below. Please like, share, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.